So for the next hour or so, this is your opportunity to ask the panel anything you'd like, whether it's related to their time at Denison, their current position, what they see themselves doing in the future. This is more of a very informal discussion.
We're looking at a positive mentor and a negative mentor. So somebody who only criticizes you in effort to make you better, and somebody who really praises you for the things that you do well. And how those two sort of approaches can affect how you actually function and your productivity. So what we're looking at here, so in the fMRI, we're looking at blood flow and oxygenation and activity. So these are just kind of like 3D blown up images. These are just atlases. It's just an average of all the 20 subjects that we had.
As scientists, you tend to think, oh, well, the science will lead me to this answer. But eventually you get to a place where we think about things differently. And so the ethical and the political issues of how we conduct science and how science affects our regulations, I think, is very interesting. So we were having a discussion earlier today about the laws for alcohol versus the laws for drugs, things like that. Those are things that our office often deals with. Or, you know, when a patient is considered brain dead, and are they clinical research subjects, or are kids allowed to be human research subjects for certain things? And so kind of how these scientific questions, how in terms of our society we allow them to be conducted.
When you do research here, you design your own experiment, you come up with an idea, you probably fail a couple of times and, you know, figuring out how to, I know I did at least a couple of times, and figuring out how to test it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But that is, you know, if you pursue a career path as a scientist, that's what you'll be doing day in and day out. And learning it now is amazing. If you're a junior or senior now and you think you know what you want to do at graduate school, forget it. Because, well, yeah, don't forget it, because you may end up doing that. But don't limit yourself when you get there. Absolutely don't limit yourself.
Not only has Josh spent several years doing some really impressive research, he also has had extensive teaching experience at various places and taught, I discovered today, a wide range of courses, some of which he took here at Denison for the first time many years earlier. So it's great to see that he's continued his learning by now helping others learn those same types of topics.
So for a long time, psychology, or if you think back in your intro, like when we talked about the history of psychology and phrenology, remember the bumps on the head, and you know, this is trust and this is guilt and everything like that. And that got laughed out because we knew, you know, it's not this part of the head does this and this part of the head does that. Well, as we start to learn more about the brain, we start to learn that this part of the brain does do this and this part of the brain does do that. So it's not really phrenology, but we come full circle and we do understand that there are specialization areas within the brain. A lot of time what we're doing is we're focusing on working memory, but that's certainly not the only thing that the frontal cortex does. Inhibitory control or impulsivity is a big player, and then executive function, which has to do with decision making, prioritizing tasks, keeping a to-do list, things like that. Why is this all important is that deficits in all of these sort of behaviors accompany all sorts of normal behavior that we see in normal aging, but are also associated with neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and schizophrenia, as well as other neuropsychiatric conditions.